Every gamer worth their salt, no matter how much they may pretend to deny it, will want the coveted Platinum Trophy for every game that they play. What's a Platinum Trophy, you may ask? Well, it's when you acquire every single trophy in a specific game on PlayStation. Xbox probably has something similar now, but traditionally its equivalent was getting 1,000 gamer score after acquiring all the achievements in a game. Then Steam's not really had anything up until relatively recently, when they added a little ribbon and a perfect games category on your Steam profile. And honorable mention, but Nintendo's never had anything like that on any platform unless the game itself has something similar. I have a fair number of Platinum Trophies in games that I've 100% completed, and while it isn't as much as your average achievement hunter, I do enjoy pushing for specific challenges in games I like in order to get the Platinum Trophy or whatever similar reward. And recently, a game that was added to my completionist list was Like a Dragon Gaiden. Now, despite playing quite an extensive amount of almost all of the Yakuza and Like a Dragon games, I've never gotten 100% in any of them. The reason for that is because a majority of my brain is sane, which is surprising to say considering I've completed horrible challenges like unlocking Damascus, once on my account and once on my brother's, and Orion camo in the first two Modern Warfare reboots on every single gun, even though it wasn't a requirement, and I've gotten 100% in Metal Gear Solid 5 twice. But why would I do that? Well, it's because regardless of how mind-numbingly boring those challenges are, I am at least still shooting things in the typical game modes or missions you play to shoot things, which is the point of the games. Compare that now to Yakuza, where all of the conditions for getting the Platinum Trophy in whichever game ultimately boils down to not playing the game. Now, before I elaborate on that, I would like to say that while I joke about them being psychos, the problem with the Yakuza Platinums is not at all the players in any way, it's the game. And also, this is going to sound like a lot of complaining, but it comes from a place of love because I very much enjoy these games and would like to get the most out of them, but I really hate the way that they design their completionist goals. But let's get back on topic to Gaiden. To unlock all the achievements or trophies for the game, you can basically summarize the process as follows. Step 1. Beat the game on any difficulty. Easy enough, especially considering that Gaiden is far shorter than something like Yakuza 5 or Yakuza Like a Dragon, and that you can do it on easy. Step 2. Do everything in the Colosseum. This one's pretty straightforward and really doesn't take relatively long at all. It's especially good because the Colosseum is just entirely punching people in the head, which is what the main gameplay is, so you can look at it as an extension of the main story. The only slight annoyance is that it includes recruiting a certain number of members for your team and maxing out the bonds and levels of 10 of those teammates. But once you do beat every Colosseum challenge, you get like a trillion gazillion yen, so you can just buy everything you need anyway. Step 3. Do 15 sub-stories and then 50 stroll and patrol missions. The stroll and patrol things you can very easily get just by accident, considering how many of those missions are just, "Oi mate, you got a lighter?" and then bam, mission done. The sub-stories are also especially good this time because there aren't a total of 15, but you only need to complete 15 of them compared to other games that might have 100 that they expect you to complete. Step 4. Get 30 locker keys. Honestly, don't even need a guide or a map for this achievement because they're pretty obvious and it's only 30 of them. You can also get a piece of equipment that just lets you see them on the map. So, Step 5. Get a golden ball. There's literally one at Ebisu, just go buy it. Step 6. Do a bunch of pocket circuit stuff. This one's actually the hardest, but fortunately you don't have to do everything in there, nor do you really have to go out of your way to get the right parts you need to win races. Just follow a guide on what parts to use, and you only need a boost for like 2 tracks. And those 2 tracks also have RNG, where you kind of need to be in a specific lane to win, otherwise you can't win, but whatever, you'll get there eventually. Step 7. Max out all of the hostess bullshit. Just whip out a guide and it'll take a while, but there's nothing really challenging about it, especially since you can you can skip all the dialogue. Then finally, Step 8, which is a bunch of miscellaneous stuff. Most of this you'll get naturally from just doing everything else here, like activating extreme heat a bunch of times. The only stuff you'll likely need to go out of your way for is buying 50 outfit items, which if you've done all the Colosseum stuff will take you pretty much a minute to do. Then win a game of darts, which is pretty piss easy. Play a single game of either poker or blackjack at the castle's casino. Then another single game of koi koi or oichikabu, whatever it's called, at the castle's gambling hall. And the best part about that one is you don't need to win. Then next you just need to play 6 different games at the arcade, which all 6 are right there in the Sotenbori arcade. And another simple play objective is to play 5 different games on the Sega Master System, which just involves launching the game and then selecting another one. Up next, you need to sing a duet with Akame, which if you've done all the 15 sub-stories and missions and whatever, you'll naturally get enough bond to sing with her. Then you need to throw someone in the Sotenbori River with the spider gadget, which will take you 30 seconds, if that. And then the final one, which I know a lot of people have apparently struggled with, being that you need to complete a one-shot challenge on normal difficulty in pool. This one's actually pretty easy, especially if you just look up someone doing it on YouTube and just try to match how they shot it, and then bam, you're done. So with the help of my handy-dandy game facts guide I just read to you, you now have the Platinum Trophy for Like a Dragon Gaiden. This meant that you didn't need to look at a shitload of super hidden cats you can easily miss, or missable achievements that you only know exist because you looked at the secret trophy list before you started playing. No mini-games you need to grind for a ludicrous number of hours, no need to unlock every every upgrade or piece of gear. No need to spend 100 years unlocking stupid weapon seals that were a good idea but terribly executed. None of any of that sort of stuff. You basically just play the game naturally, and then you may notice there's only a few things you need to do that'll only take you a few hours to do, and then you do it. The reason why this is good should be obvious, but it's because typically the biggest problem with the Yakuza Platinum trophies is the time dedication. There are plenty of achievements / trophies that can be annoying to get, but at the end of the day, most of it comes down to just requiring you to spend a shitload of time doing the same thing over and over again, or doing 100 million different things. You see, part of the appeal of the Yakuza games is the fact that these masterclasses in storytelling that have fun combat, whether it be action or turn-based, are accompanied by a plethora of fun original minigames or tried and true classics. The minigames are supposed to be supplemental content in an already chock-full series of games, but the beauty of these games is that there are 3 different ways you can play them, all of which are enjoyable ways to do it. The first way is that you can just focus entirely on the main story and ignore all side content and minigames. The second is that you can have a healthy balance of both. Let's say if you're getting a bit bored of the main game, which is quite hard to do, you can go take a break and play some minigames. Or you could even do it the other way around and take a break from the minigames by playing the main story. Then there's the final way where you just progress far enough into the story so that you can play Mahjong or Pinball endlessly like Greg Chun does, even though he's terrible at both of them. It's all perfectly valid, but the main story, being that it's the main story, is the only thing you're ever forced, or in reality encouraged to do, and the side content purely exists as additive entertainment.
So why is like 80% of the completion of every game minigame related?
You know what's fun? Sprinting into someone, pressing triangle and slamming their head into the concrete. You know what isn't fun? Well, the easy answer would be Mahjong, but it's actually being forced to win Mahjong at least 50 times because there are 3 places to play it. Fortunately, grinding for the platinum is never a necessity, which is why I've obviously never done it for any of the Yakuza games until now. And honestly, I think grinding for these platinums is a pretty quick and easy way to burn yourself out or just hate a specific minigame, or it's just a really quick and easy, all expense paid trip for your head directly into a brick wall. None of this is to say that having a bad platinum ruins the whole game. It just ruins the fun of pushing yourself further to get your typical platinum trophy in any old game. To reiterate an earlier point, there was stuff like the missable story achievements, which fortunately they did get rid of after Judgment, but they literally all suck. If you miss one of them, especially if you miss one cat, you have to do an entire other playthrough or hope you have a save file that goes far back enough, which let's say you do, but it's like from 2 hours ago. Oh, awesome. There goes another 2 hours of my life because I forgot to let Sugiura hang from a rope for like 3 minutes straight. At least the only sort of achievement in a game that is a full playthrough related one will be the beat the game on legend difficulty achievement. In all games, not just Yakuza, that have these types of achievements, sometimes they can be a unique or fun challenge, but most of the time they're just a bit annoying, like having to beat the entire game without changing your gear like Kingdom Hearts 1 has. But at least there's something unique with those playthroughs, because honestly, legend difficulty can be a tough challenge, but it's not at all a unique one, especially again in something like Judgment, because you can't do New Game Plus legend difficulty like you can in Lost Judgment. Now, Gaiden doesn't have either legend or New Game Plus, but considering the length of the game, it really wouldn't be a problem if there were trophies tied to doing them. But what I would like to one day see is if legend difficulty was more like hard mode in Final Fantasy VII Remake, where the playthrough feels very different with different modifiers, rules, and enemy placements, and where it becomes a lot of fun. For example, I think it's tied to your castle rank, but either as you get higher ranks or as you progress through the story in Gaiden, enemies will start showing up with more weapons like shotguns and pistols. In Judgment, as you meet more of the Keihin gang, which is story progression, more enemy types will start to show up, and sort of mini bosses can start to appear on top of the appearances of more Keihin bosses like Koga. What would make a legend mode playthrough more special is if those types of enemies showed up right from the beginning, and if they made enemies unique to legend difficulty. Like, imagine how hectic it would be if there were a group of enemies that could spawn that would, 5 of the gold guides from Lost Judgment, or in the turn-based ones if they made it so that every enemy has a minimum level of, let's say, 60 or something. Or if they add unique twists like not being able to heal in combat like how it works in the Colosseum or something. Things like that would make going back and doing a legend mode playthrough or a second playthrough for the purpose of missable achievements a bit more exciting than just enemies having more defense and more attack. It's fine if they do that for games where you can start playing on the hardest difficulty right away, but games where you have to unlock legend really shouldn't be doing that. But then there's the other side of the completion process for most of the games that aren't Gaiden, being all the side content related trophies. I'll start with a controversial opinion. I have not come away from an Amon fight and thought, wow, that was fun and worth my time. I'm sorry, I know everyone's going to want me hung, drawn, and quartered now, but getting to Amon and the aftermath once he's defeated is what throws me off. I'm likely biased from playing other games and fighting super bosses that make me cum, like all of the ones in Kingdom Hearts, but look, you spend all that time getting to the fight, for the fight to then last for like 15 minutes if you include retries, and then it's over forever because you can't rematch them unless you had another save file, start a new game, or have some sort of mod installed. Then typically you're rewarded with the supposed joy of victory, and in some of the games are given some sort of ultimate reward. For example, in Gaiden you get the War God Talisman, which constantly generates your heat at quite a fast rate, which while that is an incredibly good reward, there's no one left to fight. There's only one Amon and you can't test your skills and fight him again with the War God Talisman unless you, again, install a mod or something, because otherwise in Gaiden, there is no way to fight that Amon with the War God Talisman. Why not instead give us something that we can just use to have like the ultimate messing about session? Maybe beating Amon gets you a piece of gear where the drones explode when they get destroyed or something, or even if they just let you play as Amon in the Colosseum. You know, something that is an actual infinite use reward we can play around with and have fun with for completing the ultimate challenge. It wasn't really much of an ultimate challenge. In all the other games, you spend all that time getting to whatever Amon or Amons it is, doing all the sub-stories, which can typically be boiled down to talking to people for a while, then you fight someone, only to finally defeat the Amon and get a pat on the back. And considering that the Yakuza games are incredibly simple by design, the Amons can never do anything crazy unless it's just some bullshit attack like an orbital laser, so it's not very challenging. Would like a more well thought out challenge, but I understand that honestly you can't get anything crazy from these games like you can in other games I like, and although Like a Dragon and Infinite Wealth do have that opportunity to be more complex with the turn-based gameplay, I would enjoy it in the action games. But then unlike other games I like, when it comes to the preparation for the fight, you don't need to do all the sub-stories to get like the ultimate weapon or something, or getting all the upgrades, because instead the preparation is just completing all of the sub-stories, which gets you nothing besides the individual rewards from the sub-stories. All of that time spent doing side quests to be rewarded with a fight with one dude who's a pushover for no reward, I would rather spend having my own fun, whichever game it is, or maybe going and playing a different game in the series, or, now I know this will sound crazy, doing literally anything else. Guide unlocking the Amon fight behind the Colosseum progression was a good idea, considering the whole point of the Colosseum is fighting strong opponents, and once you beat it all, you fight an even stronger opponent, as opposed to most of the other games where a lot of climbing towards the peak can involve playing a lot of mini-games like VR Dice or Mahjong or some shit, for that to then lead you to fighting a strong dude, which is strange. But honestly, Gaiden did mostly the right thing with the Amon fight by locking it behind a series of combat challenges. In regards to those challenges, I really enjoy the Colosseum for its unique twist of playing whoever you want, and unlike some of the earlier games, you don't need to religiously grind victories to get to the highest rank of challenges. But you know what could have been cool? If you could at least rematch Amon as one of the special challenge cups. Anyway, the other side of side content completion is then grinding in minigames. Now, I actually enjoy Mahjong, Shogi, Pool, Bowling, Koikoi, all those sorts of games, but I don't enjoy it enough to have to constantly play it over and over again, and if I did do that, I feel I would end up enjoying them all significantly less. I only ever play them in small bouts, and I have enjoyed my time playing little bits of all these minigames, but I don't really want to have to constantly deal with the 3 Mahjong AI opponents who I swear to God strategize with each other to make me lose, or the Shogi CPU who can make a decision in a single frame that is the most optimal play any single computer could ever possibly think of, or the Pool CPU sinking one ball then conveniently sinking every single one after that, or the shitty, dumb shit, idiot, stupid, terribly programmed dogshit, bad moronic AI teammates in the horrible robotics minigame that sucks. But all of that I can perfectly enjoy as a little break from the main game for a bit of fun. One loss is okay, but several losses when I'm trying to win is annoying, and that's what turns me away. It's why I stopped playing games like Rainbow Six Siege, because victory was paramount. And that's why Gaiden did a great thing by making it that you only need to play a single game of most of the minigames, because if you do enjoy what you tried out, there's no guidelines you need to follow beyond that. You play as much and as little as you want. And speaking of enjoyment, I truly do hope that as many people can enjoy these games as possible, and by allowing more people a simpler option to go for the Platinum Trophies, it means you can go ahead and try some minigames and whatnot, and if you like them, you can keep playing them, and you won't be forced to strip yourself of all your joy. It's a very small percentage of people, but for those people, a lot of the time getting a Platinum Trophy is getting as much enjoyment out of a game as possible. When I think of Platinum Trophies I've gotten over the years that I enjoyed getting, a lot come to mind, but 2 examples I'll use for this video are Spider-Man 2 and Persona 5 Royal. Now, Spider-Man 2, which was my most recent actual Platinum, I got in almost the same amount of time as it took me for Gaiden. That was a game where you need to get 100% to unlock the trophy for it, but I didn't mind because it was a series of small challenges that didn't take very long at all of which gave me tangible rewards, and the whole time I got to have fun. Then there was Persona 5 Royal, which even though I didn't enjoy the whole overly bloated story that pales in comparison to Persona 3 with characters that aren't as good as Persona 4's, the gameplay was what really kept me going. Now, SMT4 was better, but the final trophy I needed was the trophy for beating the game. I was able to acquire everything without needing to really go out of my way for anything. Once I beat the game, I beat the entire game, and that's why, despite it taking me about 135 hours to do so, and it being a roughly 100-hour long game if you play normally, 20% of players have the Platinum Trophy, which is significantly larger than the piddly percentage for most of the Yakuza games, and is surprising given how its length would make most players just give up. In Spider-Man and Persona, I didn't need to spend an additional 70 hours after beating the game doing monotonous shit, and in Gaiden, those additional 70 hours aren't needed, and you can use all those spare 70 hours doing more productive things like going to the gym, doing some grocery shopping, finishing assignments, going to bed early, or buying Lost Judgment. Now, I'm expecting to hear people say that when it comes to the Platinum Trophies in games like a Dragon, Yakuza 0, Judgment, Lost Judgment, so on, I know people will say, well, you haven't tried it, you don't know what it's like. Well, I have tried it, and it was a miserable experience. I play these games to have fun, and going for all of the achievements on all of them except for Gaiden is not fun. And if it's not fun, then why the fuck would I bother? But at the end of the day, this was just a not so subtle message to RGG saying that I like what they did with Gaiden's achievements. You see, a lot more people will go for all achievements than going for actual full 100% completion, and so that means that a lot more people can feel like they've gotten a lot out of the game without feeling like they milked it so dry that it's like most places in Australia 90% of the year. And you know what? If anyone from Sega is watching this, because it is a much better way to have fun, I hope you keep this momentum with future games, particularly Infinite Wealth. For the love of Christ, please, the game's already going to be long enough. And also, Sega person, watch this. I'm going to do a backflip for you, and you can share this around the office with everyone. Hold up, hang on.